Jake Matthews thought his home was his fortress, a sanctuary built on sweat and dreams. But when a fake HOA, led by the smug Richard Baxter, burned his prized motorcycle garage to the ground, they underestimated one critical detail. In just weeks, Jake turned the tables, exposing their fraud and rebuilding stronger than ever. Buckle up, this story of betrayal, revenge, and redemption will leave you speechless. Jake had spent years crafting his perfect haven, a sturdy 2-story brick house, mortgage-free, on a quiet street where neighbors minded their own business. His front yard boasted a crisp white picket fence, manicured bushes, and a driveway he pressure-washed religiously. But the real gem? His garage, a custom-built, temperature-controlled shrine to his classic motorcycle collection. Inside, polished concrete floors gleamed under a 1967 Triumph Bonneville, a Henry-built Harley-Davidson Panhead, and a restored Indian Scout that could grace a museum. The air carried the scent of motor oil and leather, a testament to Jake's hard-earned freedom. This was his kingdom, his rules, until they showed up. It started on a sunny Tuesday afternoon. Jake was wiping down his Bonneville when a sharp, authoritative knock rattled his door. He opened it to find 3 men straight out of a low-budget cop drama. Leading the pack was Richard Baxter, late 50s, with slicked-back gray hair, a cheap suit, and a smirk begging to be wiped off. Flanking him were 2 security guards, in knockoff uniforms, fake badges glinting, mirrored sunglasses hiding their eyes despite the cloudy sky. Jake leaned against the doorframe, barely stifling a chuckle. "Mr. Matthews," Richard began, voice dripping with condescension. "I'm with the Willow Creek HOA Compliance Board. Your garage violates our community aesthetic standards. It needs to go." Jake blinked, then laughed, a loud, incredulous bark. "You're not even a real HOA." Richard's smirk widened. "Oh, we are. Willow Creek HOA has been recently re-established, and we're enforcing new bylaws." He waved a stack of papers like a courtroom prop. "Stand-alone garages are prohibited." Jake crossed his arms. "Funny, because when I bought this place, there was no HOA, no bylaws, no nothing." He'd done his homework. No fees, no rules, no nosy neighbors dictating his life. Richard tilted his head, feigning sympathy. "Well, we were reinstated by concerned homeowners." "Save it," Jake cut him off. "I didn't sign anything, so take your fake rulebook and get off my property." Richard's eyes twitched, but his smirk held. "This isn't a debate, Mr. Matthews. Comply, or we'll escalate." His tone hardened, a veiled threat. Jake stepped forward, voice low and steady. "Let's be clear. I don't recognize your authority, and I don't take kindly to threats." Silence hung heavy. Richard licked his lips, then turned and left with his goons. Jake slammed the door, thinking that was the end of it. He was wrong. The harassment began the next day. Violation notices, $500 fines for non-compliant structure, piled up in his mailbox, taped to his door, stuffed under his garage entrance. By week 2, a white SUV with magnetic security stickers crawled past his house daily, then twice daily, parked across the street, watching. Richard's goons sat inside, arms crossed, sunglasses on, playing wannabe cops. Jake felt their eyes boring into him every time he stepped outside. Then Richard upped the ante. One evening, as Jake polished his Harley, Richard strolled up in khakis and a polo embroidered with the fake HOA logo. "You might want to reconsider, Mr. Matthews," he said, hands in pockets, fake friendly. "Accidents happen when people ignore community guidelines." Jake's jaw clenched. "Reconsider what?" Richard's smirk lingered too long. "Just saying." He walked off, leaving Jake seething. Jake had proof that no HOA existed when he bought his house, but Richard's threats were escalating, and Jake wasn't one to back down. A week later, while Jake was out of town, his phone rang at 2 a.m. His neighbor's voice trembled. "Jake, your garage, it's on fire!" Jake raced home, heart pounding. By the time he arrived, his garage was a smoldering ruin. Charred beams jutted like broken bones, the air thick with the stench of burnt rubber and melted steel. His motorcycles, his Bonneville, his Panhead, his Scout, were twisted husks. His tools, his workspace, his legacy gone. The firefighters hosed down the embers, but the damage was done. His house barely survived, the flames stopping just short of destruction. Then he saw them. Richard Baxter and his two rent-a-cops stood at the curb, arms crossed, faces smug. Richard, in his damn HOA polo, tilted his head as if admiring a painting. His goons grinned, one chewing gum like he just watched a blockbuster. Jake's blood boiled. They didn't look surprised or concerned, they looked proud. Jake's hands balled into fists. "You did this," he growled, voice shaking with rage. Richard sighed theatrically. "Such a shame, Mr. Matthews. Maybe if you'd followed the guidelines." His smirk was gasoline on Jake's fury. Jake snapped. He charged, vision blurring, ready to tear Richard apart. His boots pounded the pavement, muscles coiled for violence. But before he could land a punch, firefighters and real cops tackled him, pinning him back. "Calm down!" a cop barked. Jake thrashed, roaring. "They burned it down!" Richard didn't flinch, his smile cold. "No proof," he said, shrugging like it was just another day. Jake nearly broke free, but a veteran cop pulled him aside. "Listen," the officer whispered, glancing at Richard. "I don't like these HOA clowns either, but without evidence, we can't touch them." Evidence. Jake's pulse hammered. He had evidence, because Richard had made one fatal mistake. Jake's property was rigged with high-resolution, night-vision security cameras, covering every inch 24/7. Shaking with rage, Jake stormed inside and pulled up the footage. There it was, 2:17 a.m., two hooded figures creeping onto his driveway, one with a gas can, the other flicking a lighter. They doused the garage, sparked the flame, and watched it roar. And across the street, arms folded, stood Richard, watching like a director on set. Jake didn't go to the cops, not yet. He called his lawyer. If Richard wanted to play dirty, Jake would play smart. By sunrise, the legal papers were ready. By 9 a.m., Jake unleashed hell. The next morning, Richard stepped onto his porch, probably expecting another day of lording over the neighborhood. Instead, a uniformed officer greeted him with a court order, arson investigation, felony charges. Burning private property isn't just a prank, it's a federal crime. Richard's smug facade cracked. "You don't know who you're messing with," he spat. Jake leaned in, voice ice cold. "No, Richard. You didn't know who you were messing with." Within weeks, Richard and his goons were in cuffs. The cops took arson, fraud, and organized harassment seriously. The fake HOA collapsed, its bogus fines and notices voided. Richard went from wannabe dictator to inmate number 46723. And Jake? He rebuilt. His new garage was twice the size, with fireproof walls, steel beams, and a security system that could spot a mouse. Standing before its gleaming doors, Jake cracked a beer, took a slow sip, and smiled. Victory never tasted so sweet. But here's where it gets messy. Was Jake's rage justified, or did he risk too much? Could he have stopped Richard sooner? And what about Richard's goons? Were they just following orders, or equally guilty? This story raises questions about justice, revenge, and standing your ground. What do you think? Should Jake have played it safer, or was his all-out war the only way? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's debate. Where's the line between defending your rights and going too far? Smash that like button, subscribe for more insane stories, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's next.